Hi, I'm Sharon Byrns. I'm going to share some self-care tips for overall well-being. So, way back in 2019, toward the end of the year, when COVID-19 was rearing its ugly head, we didn't know much about it. We just knew that it was out there and that it was contagious. And then in 2020, early part of 2020, more awareness and more information was available. And it was about March when everything started closing down and people were told to stay home to be safe. And all the different protocols were put into place. Well, I became ill about mid-March, early to mid-March. And I didn't know exactly what was going on. In retrospect, I probably had COVID. I didn't get tested. I didn't go to my doctor, didn't visit the hospital. I pulled out all of the tools that I've been taught by my mother, my grandmother, since childhood. And one of the big ones that was quite helpful included gargling. And when we gargle, we are actually vibrating. All of those tissues are not only getting bathed, but they're getting wiggled and jiggled, and things get loosened up. And depending on what you choose to gargle with, this can be very healing. So I'm going to show a couple of options. You can use whatever commercial mouthwash that you are used to using to prevent bad breath. You can use table salt. You can use Epsom salts. And you can use hydrogen peroxide. Also, baking soda. So the hydrogen peroxide and the baking soda have the benefit of oxygen. And that was what I was looking for when I had such a bad sore throat. And you can even use oil. So when I use my daily swish in the morning, before I spit it out, I actually gargle for just a little bit. So I'm getting gargling in with my swish in the morning, very briefly. And at night, I'm doing that with one of my other options. Okay? So here's the thing about gargling. Gargling is an opportunity to be heard, to be loud, and to let out the inhibitions. So don't gargle quietly. Gargle wildly or loudly. You can start with the scales, go from low to high, back down again. And what's extremely helpful is to swish the solution from side to side before you take your chin up, head back, to open up the throat. Now realize if you take this up too high, you can hear the change in my vocal tone. You're actually closing off your vocal cords to some extent. So you want to find that medium space where you can still have your normal vocal tone. All right? And measuring is definitely recommended. So I'm going to use my baking soda. Baking soda turned out to be the best thing for me when I was trying to treat my symptoms of COVID. I'll tell you why in a little bit. And so I'm going to go with a level teaspoon, and I'm going to go with about a half a cup of liquid. Now it would be best if this was warm, maybe a little bit on the hot side. But I'm just going to do this, and it will look a little silly, but I feel like we're all in good company here. So here goes. Excuse me. That actually felt kind of good. So what I discovered when I was trying to be helpful and end my suffering. I started with salt, and I used way too much. I didn't measure at all. I dumped a whole bunch of salt into a cup, and I used really strong hot water that I could barely tolerate, and I gargled. And I was actually aggravating my symptoms. It was making me more uncomfortable. And from there I went to using peroxide with water, and that wasn't much better because, remember, I was hurting. I had a very sore throat at the time. But when I switched over to the baking soda was calming. So when you've got symptoms that need to be calmed, you want to make a wise decision. Maybe you can learn a little bit from my experience, because for me, it was trial and error. But picking out a quality oil, and castor oil is absolutely wonderful because it reduces inflammation as well. There's a lot of other good things about it, but that's for another time. Whenever you choose wisely. Do this in moderation. And I do this at night before turning in. It's a wonderful way to clear out whatever is accumulated from your day. And then you have a better night's sleep. Thank you for being here. That's it for today's self-care help. Next time, we'll talk about something for the rest of your being. Have a great day.